Welcome to Tina Talks Huntsville, the ultimate podcast for all things Huntsville. I'm your host, Tina Clark. I'm a local realtor with Red Clay Realty, and I'm thrilled to embark on this journey with you as we explore the vibrant heart of the Rocket City. Thank you for joining me in our very first episode. Now let's get to it. Who am I? Well, picture this. A real estate agent with an adventurous spirit roaming the vast corners of the United States, catching dreams and searching for that perfect space to call home. And guess what? I found it here in Huntsville, Alabama. I grew up mostly in Michigan with a few years spent in Texas, but my family moved around a lot when I was a kid, something I both loved and hated. Despite being inherently shy, I had a deep-seated love for exploring, and as much as I hated being the new kid in town, I loved that the new kid also meant a new town to investigate. Each move was like opening a new chapter in my book, and I was eager to absorb every detail. As I got older, my passion for exploring only grew stronger. When I was young, family vacations were typically cross-country road trips, and that's where my love of travel and exploration grew. I remember exploring national parks and forests, underground caves, amusement parks, campgrounds, and waterways. The car ride was boring back then, but the stops were great. We always had a destination in mind, but we were never in too much of a hurry to stop at any roadside establishment that caught our eye. Fast forward a few years to my first serious job in the travel industry, of course. Working in travel meant I got to immerse myself in the world of exploration, adventure, and culture. I found great joy in researching exotic locations and making someone's dream trip come to life. The perks weren't too bad either. I was able to travel to some great destinations for next to nothing as agent discounts were plentiful. In the 90s and early 2000s, travel professionals were spoiled and agent travel was deeply discounted. I once spent a week in Turks and Caicos in a 5-star all-inclusive resort for $25 a night. It was the greatest job for someone with the heart of an explorer. I was living in Michigan and working in the travel industry when I met my husband, John. Eventually, John accepted a job with the government, and his first assignment was in South Carolina. We decided to make that move together. The journey from Michigan to South Carolina was scary, but a thrilling chapter in our lives, infused with a mix of excitement, apprehension, and undeniable sense of adventure. Leaving behind family and friends and everything that was familiar to me left me uneasy. But I embraced the idea of what awaited us in South Carolina. Once there, we fell in love pretty quickly with the Carolinas, and about 6 months later, John surprised me with the challenge of a lifetime. I had always told him that I wanted to go skydiving, and he called my bluff when together we jumped out of a perfectly good airplane from 13,000 feet up. When we landed safely on the ground, he proposed, and I knew he was my ideal partner for life. We were married a year later, under a 300-year-old oak tree in Pawleys Island, South Carolina. Next stop, Chicago, Illinois. John's job transferred us to Chicago, Illinois for our next assignment. I was pretty familiar with Chicago when we got word of the transfer. Being a 20-something in Michigan meant frequent weekend trips to Chicago, only a 30-minute flight away. I was excited about moving to a city that I had such fond memories of. Shopping all day on the Magnificent Mile, dancing all night because the clubs were open till 4 a.m., no sleep needed because there was too much fun to be had. However, when we arrived, I was pregnant with my first child, so none of that mattered. It's funny how the parents of an infant don't want to go out dancing all night. I will forever have fond memories of Chicago. It's where I spent a good part of my youth with great friends having a ball, and it's where I brought my 2 beautiful daughters into the world. Next stop, Washington, D.C. When my kids were still very little, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with terminal cancer. We decided to take a transfer to D.C. to be nearby and help care for her as things progressed. The move was not filled with our usual adventure spirit and excitement, but instead it was a deeply emotional journey. We weren't really thinking of what the new town had to offer us, only the somber reason that brought us there. My mother-in-law loved that town with all of her heart, and even after she passed away, we stayed, thinking that the thought of her grandchildren tooling around in her town would make her happy. We ended up enjoying our time there. D.C. offered a unique blend of historical, cultural, and recreational experience that were a perfect combination for our young family. Next stop, Paradise. Around the time that we started thinking we were ready for a new adventure, my husband came home from work and asked if I would consider a move to the Virgin Islands. Hell yes, I said, and where's my suitcase? I've always been a beach girl and would jump at a chance to visit any beach, much less live there. Before we knew it, we were arriving on the beautiful Caribbean island of St. Thomas, excited, eager, and scared to death. The island brought about 2 fish-like daughters who were more comfortable in the ocean than they were on land. And John and I obtained our advanced diving certification and spent hours under the ocean, swimming with sea turtles, sharks, manta rays, and all kinds of other amazing creatures. We made some unforgettable memories, and exploring had never been more fun. In September of 2017, when we had been in St. Thomas for about 4 years, our beautiful island was hit by Hurricane Irma, a Category 5 hurricane. Then, less than 2 weeks later, Hurricane Maria, another Category 5, hit. Between the 2 storms, the island was devastated. Power was out for months. Schools and homes were destroyed. The island lost everything. We tried to stay and remake our home there, but the island was no longer a safe place to raise our children, so we had to go. Next stop, Chesapeake, Virginia. We accepted a transfer to Chesapeake, Virginia, and left our island home. I still craved the ocean, so once we got settled in, I worked as a volunteer on a whale watching boat, which was great. I also decided to finally get my real estate license. I'd always wanted to be a real estate agent, but with frequent moves, I never thought the timing was right. Since real estate is really a relationship business, moving around a lot just doesn't fit the bill. I went to real estate school, aced my exam, and got my license. I loved selling real estate from day one. What's not to love? Meeting new people, learning about new areas, looking at houses all day, and that moment when you see your client's face when they walk into their dream home is indescribable. I honestly can't imagine why anyone would ever have any other job. A couple of years later, my husband asked to run something by me, and it was a move to Huntsville. I remember thinking, where the heck is that, and what the heck do people do there? Next stop, Huntsville, Alabama. Well, after that long story, we finally arrived into Huntsville, Alabama. Having lived all over the United States, in 7 different states, and on 1 Caribbean island, I can honestly say that Huntsville captured my heart like no other place. Its southern charm, stunning mountains, and warm, friendly people create an enchanting fusion that drew me in from the moment I arrived. I pretty much immediately fell in love with Huntsville's unique blend of history, innovation, and natural beauty. And when I say immediately, I mean it. By the end of the 2nd day of our house hunting trip, I was like, this is amazing. Why aren't more people doing this? And as it turns out, they are. And I was excited to be one of them. In fact, Huntsville was recently voted the #1 place to live in the United States by U.S. News and World Report. And I'm about to tell you why. So, why? Why me? Why Huntsville? Why this podcast? When I first moved here, I was eager to learn more about my new home, so I searched for a podcast dedicated to Huntsville. To my surprise, there wasn't one. After getting to know Huntsville and realizing how much the city has to offer, I decided to create a platform where we can delve into the rich past, the exciting present, and the promising future of this irresistible city. Each episode of Tina Talks Huntsville will be a captivating journey through Huntsville's countryside, uncovering its hidden gems, unearthing its historical treasures, and showcasing the dynamic community that makes this place so special. From exploring local businesses and iconic landmarks to interviewing residents and key figures shaping the city's future, we'll leave no stone unturned. If you aren't yet familiar with Huntsville, let me introduce you. Huntsville, Alabama is a vibrant and thriving city located in the northern part of the state, known as Rocket City. Huntsville has a rich history deeply tied to space exploration and technology, making it a significant hub for scientific research, engineering, and innovation. All of that with a cherry on top called Southern hospitality. Huntsville's roots can be traced back to the early 19th century when it was incorporated as a town in 1811. At the heart of its early history was agriculture and the cotton industry. But it was during the Civil War that Huntsville played a pivotal role, becoming a hub for military equipment and supplies. Following the war, Huntsville began to reinvent itself, and in the 1950s, it became a center for space exploration and technology. The establishment of Redstone Arsenal and NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center marked the beginning of a new and exciting era for the city. One of the city's most prominent features is NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, which has been instrumental in shaping the United States space program, including its involvement in the Apollo program that landed humans on the moon in the 60s and 70s. Marshall is now leading the way in supporting NASA's Artemis missions, as the center is responsible for the design, development, testing, and manufacturing of Artemis, which is now the world's most powerful rocket. There are so many other amazing things going on at Marshall Space Flight Center. We have an entire podcast dedicated to it, so you'll be sure to want to tune into that one. Today, Huntsville stands as a testament of its remarkable transformation. The city embraces its past while continuing to advance towards an even brighter future. At one end, Huntsville's historic districts, such as Twickenham and Old Town, showcase stunning antebellum architecture and old city southern charm. While on the other end, Marshall Space Center is responsible for the design and development of the world's most powerful rocket. Does Huntsville really have it all? Let's take a closer look at some of Huntsville's most popular attractions. Located just a few minutes away from Marshall is the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. The Space and Rocket Center is a museum and education center and is one of the most popular destinations for space enthusiasts, students, and the general public. The center is home to one of the largest collections of rocket space memorabilia in the world, including the Saturn V rocket itself. It also houses an IMAX theater, intuitive planetarium, scuba underwater astronaut training, multiple G-force and flight simulator training experiences, and so much more. Let's just say you could spend days here and not see everything. Tune into a future podcast featuring the Space and Rocket Center in its entirety. Beyond its contributions to space exploration, Huntsville has a diverse and growing economy. The city houses several technology and defense companies, including Redstone Arsenal, a major military installation that has a significant impact on the local economy and provides numerous employment opportunities. Other leading employers in the area include Boeing, Amazon, Toyota Mazda, LG Electronics, Lockheed Martin, Facebook, and the Department of Justice, just to name a few. Along with its technological advancements, Huntsville boasts a thriving arts and culture scene. The Huntsville Museum of Art, the Huntsville Symphony Orchestra, and numerous theaters and galleries offer a rich array of artistic experiences. Speaking of art, and if art is your passion, you won't want to miss Lowe Mill, the largest privately owned arts facility in the United States. The mill offers not only a beautiful and inspiring art, but a fascinating story. Originally built in 1901, the mill began as a cotton mill and was later transitioned into a boot factory to supply boots for the soldiers in Vietnam. Eventually, in the 1980s, the property was repurposed and revitalized, giving rise to the eclectic space it is today. The renovation managed to maintain the industrial charm and character of the original mill while adapting it into a sprawling art complex. Inside, you can still find photos of the boot factory and even a board showing the workers' schedules. Another of Huntsville's gems that will be featured in its own episode of Tina Talks Huntsville. Enough of the great indoors. Let's head outdoors and see what Huntsville has in store for us. Where else can you experience majestic mountains, beautiful beaches, and amazing waterways all in one state? Huntsville boasts an outdoor natural beauty that captures the essence of southern charm and tranquility. One of the defining features of Huntsville is its diverse range of natural beauty. The city is surrounded by lush greenery, rolling hills, and picturesque landscapes. So whether you're an outdoor enthusiast or just looking to enjoy some fresh air, Huntsville has something for everyone. Are you an expert hiker or someone looking to get your toes wet? Either way, you'll find the ideal trail in Huntsville. The Montesano State Park is one of my favorite places to explore. The park is a popular spot for nature lovers with its hiking and biking trails, rock formations, camping sites, and stunning views. Take your camera or you'll regret it. There are so many beautiful views that you're going to want to remember. You'll find numerous other reserves, parks, and waterfall trails throughout Huntsville. It may take you the rest of your life to experience them all. Biking more your forte? Don't worry, we've got something for you too. Huntsville is a bike-friendly city with various biking paths and trails. One of the coolest, in my opinion, is the U.S. Space and Rocket Center's bike path that provides unique views of space artifacts while you ride. Trust me, you don't want to miss this ride. There are at least 20 other biking trails I can think of just off the top of my head, ranging from easy family ride to super intense training mode. We've got an upcoming podcast focused solely on the amazing bike scene in Huntsville. The Tennessee River winds its way through Huntsville, providing opportunities for boating, kayaking, and fishing. Rent a kayak or canoe and paddle along the river while enjoying the scenic beauty. As someone who appreciates a beautiful home, one of my favorite activities is boating along the river, just looking at the gorgeous lake homes. A career goal for me is to take clients house hunting on my boat. Imagine pulling up to look at your future lake house from the actual lake instead of the road. You've heard of curb appeal? How about dock appeal? But that's a topic for another day. If you're a bird enthusiast, Lake Guntersville is a must-see. The main attraction is not in the water, but in the sky. Don't get me wrong, the lake is breathtaking, but look up to find an even more incredible view. While most wildlife populations decrease in the world, Alabama's bald eagle population is increasing and the area is a hot spot for sightings. Guntersville has become a focal point of eagle awareness and conservation and hosts yearly awareness programs. So let's see. We've talked about history, art, space, innovation, hiking and biking, rivers and lakes, and bald eagles. What else might you find here in this charming town? Too much to list, but I'll try. Botanical gardens, golf, landmarks, museums, concert arenas, and some of the friendliest people I've ever met. To answer my question, does Huntsville have it all? I think it does. But if there comes a time when you're ready to adventure outside of Huntsville, doubtful, but just in case, we are less than 2 hours from the country music capital of Nashville, Tennessee, an hour and a half to Chattanooga, and about 5 hours to the ocean. Have I missed anything? I'm sure I have, but that's the whole point of this podcast. Whether you're a lifelong Huntsville resident, a recent transplant, or someone curious about Rocket City from afar, this podcast is just for you. Together, we'll celebrate the culture, the innovation, the beauty, and the untold stories that make Huntsville an extraordinary place to call home. So join me on this adventure as we delve into everything about Huntsville, the city I adore and am so excited to share with you. Let's embrace the spirit of exploration and appreciation for this beautiful corner of the South. There's so much more to discover about Huntsville, and I'm excited to share its stories, people, and hidden gems in future episodes. From interviews with local artisans and historians to delving deeper into the city's role in space exploration and its ever-evolving cultural scene, I'm committed to bringing you an even closer look at Huntsville's dynamic character. Are you ready to take this adventure with me? To keep up with this podcast and ensure you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. If you've enjoyed today's episode and found value in our exploration of Huntsville, go ahead and share it with your friends and family. Thank you for tuning in and joining me on this adventure. I can't wait to continue exploring Huntsville, Alabama together with you. If you have an idea for a future podcast or something you'd like more information on, feel free to contact me at tina@tinatalkshuntsville.com. Remember, life's greatest adventures await you, so go on out and explore and make every moment an unforgettable journey. Keep your ears open for my next episode. Until then, this is Tina Clark signing off and looking forward to our next Huntsville adventure.